is going to be, we always record our classes, and if we get slightly off our routine, like me joining a little bit later, I think that just throws us all off the course.
At least it's the ABCs. We haven't covered like constitutional law yet or anything, you
Yes,
know?
exactly. So Q is going to be that same motion of the pinching, or the pinching the little one, and it's going down. So Q. R is going to be crossing your fingers. R. Then S is going to be it's like your A, but now your thumb's in front. S. T is one finger over your thumb. T. U is two fingers together. And then V, V, W, W. And then X is going to be like a hook, like a pirate. Always think about X marks the spot. And then Y is going to be your pinky and your thumb out. This one for my visual is it literally looks like the shape of a Y coming out. So if that helps you, that's how I help myself remember that. Y and then Z. Excuse me. Ooh, Z is going to be your pointer finger, and you're going to make the Z zigzag. And with this one, while yes, you technically would want to like, it's the same concept like what I was saying with that J is, going the J's. With the Z, the zigzag is not too strict on if you go this way, which way. I've just already initially started mine this way, going from in to out. It is not a big deal if you do it the opposite way. They're gonna know you're talking about a Z still. Okay, let's go back. We stopped at O, so we had P. So P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Okay, awesome. All right. So we're going to go back through all the way back to A. We're going to do it, I think, 2 or 3 times. Typically, the way we do it is the first time is going to be, we're going to sign them. I'm going to say them and we'll sign them together. The second time, what we're going to do is I'm going to voice it and say it, but I'm not going to sign it. I'm going to try to keep my hands down. So you guys have that opportunity to sign it yourselves. If you do not get it right, do not stress. This is a stress-free class, okay? Like, please do not feel like, oh, I made a mistake. It's the end. No, it's not. I promise. You guys are learning. So we're going to do the first time. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. She's on the next letter. H, I, J, K. There you go. L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Okay. So, I wanted to add this little tidbit as well that I always think is really cool. So I know we're going really slow with the ABCs, and I know some of y'all probably have already experienced the ABCs and you're like, ma'am, I already know this. I do not need to repeat this over and over again. I get it. Trust me. We've had some people come in this class that have like, they will fingerspell the ABCs beforehand. And I'm like, okay, so you already know the first class. Got it. And then there's some that's like, I've never seen this. What is this? So the reason we go very slow with the ABCs, and I like to repeat this one for sure, is because in the case of an emergency, let's say you had a situation where you did have a deaf person, you needed to communicate with them somehow. You could, without fail, finger spell words. So the sign, what I mean by finger spell is meaning you would spell every single word you needed to say. So it's not something you would do for just like normal conversation chat and but when you're like needing, like you're asking for help, you could be like HELP, like in point, and that way you could still communicate. Um, what's really cool about ASL is that with it, finger spelling is very much involved. And what I mean by that is like, for example, my best comparison I always use is that in Spanish, if you are talking in Spanish and you forget the word for apple, or some other like let's say morning. Okay. The reason I say that is because you could still technically describe apple, not a big deal, but morning, that's a hard thing to describe. And if you forgot morning in Spanish and you're trying to get that word across and you have no idea, how would you communicate that? Like, would you start spelling out the syllables? You can't really do that because you don't know the word. So that's the one thing that I think can be a struggle sometimes in a foreign language is trying to think of the word and if you forget it. ASL has a nice little like support for that. So if you forget the sign for something, without doubt, just fingerspell it. You will still be able to have that conversation and still get your point across. And most of the time, deaf people, or anyone you're talking to will give you the sign back. There have been many times where I'll forget the spell, like the sign for a word, and I'm like, what is this sign? And I'll just finger spell it. And it's not like a judgment thing of like, oh my gosh, you forgot the sign for that. Like, no. Now, if it's like the sign for cat, for me, that's a little embarrassing. It's cat. But like for more complicated words, it's not embarrassing or like, wow, you don't know the language. Like, no, finger spelling is very much a part of ASL, especially because there are some words that don't actually have signs. And so, with that, you just end up having to finger spell them. And you will see more of that as we go on through this class. Tonight, since it's just ABCs, is not going to be that big of a deal. But there are some signs that we have that are just going to be finger spelled. Or you may even ask me, hey, what's the sign for this? And I'm going to probably have to tell you, you finger spell it. So we will talk more on that, I promise. I just wanted to give that little tidbit right now. But okay, let's now do the ABCs one more time. This time I'm going to voice it and I'm going to try to keep my hands down. I don't know if you can tell, but I like to sign while I talk a lot. And so it is a bit of a struggle. There have been multiple classes where I'm like, I'm not going to sign it. And then I still bring up A and they're like, I can see like some people have like look of confusion. I'm like, oh yeah, hands go down. So I'm going to try to just voice it. If I see someone struggling, I may pull my hand up just to give that support, but it's just kind of like letting you guys get the opportunity to think it through. So, okay. So the first letter we're going to do is A, B, B, C, D. So D is going to be pointer finger and circle motion. Think about this. If you look at it, well, I know from my perspective, it looks like a B, but I always think about like, it looks like a D. And for right-handed people, your D, it looks like a lowercase d if you look at it from the side. Think about that. That's how I help myself like remember when I was learning was it looks like a D. So D, E, F. So nine fingers. Okay. You don't know what that, I promise. Okay, I'm gonna say it ahead. This is the sign for number 9 as well.
Jillian is a math teacher too, y'all.
I am. Hey, that's why I said this number and not the letter. We will be getting into numbers next week. I promise it'll make all the sense. I will let that be. I'm not explaining why I said this is 9 and how you would differentiate that. I promise we will talk about it next week. I'm gonna let y'all think on that. That's what I'm gonna do since I cannot talk tonight. Okay, so oh my goodness. Sorry, I drink my water all the time. Okay, F. Then we have G. H. Two fingers. I. J. K. I love that you got this one down, but this one got you for a minute. I had to tease you on it because this is one of the most complicated ones. So it always cracks me up. So, but I love it. L. M. So remember 3 fingers. If you look at it, it looks like it's making the shape of an M. That's how I also think of this one, is it looks like an actual M. N. 2 fingers. I did it again. I gotta keep that hand out. O. P. Q. Yep, yeah. You're like, wait, which? Either way, but yeah, Q. R. S. There you go. T. U. V. W. X. Y. And Z. All right. Awesome. 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 It takes a minute. Trust me. I know. Sometimes I think there's a lot of people that are, it's called receptive learners, which means that you like can see it, like, especially with signing, you visually, you understand what someone signs and it's like listening. Okay. Receptive is like the listening versus the expressive, which is like you talking and you signing. I was one of those people where it's like, oh, I can express easily. I can sign all day long. But when it took receptive, I'm like, wait, what? So there's a lot of different ways of learning. So I'm always like, you guys go at your own pace. Now,
Doing all right, I'm gonna let you know, like, I can see you, but my camera's not working out. Don't know why, so I'm gonna try to do it later. But, like, I already know all my ABCs. Like, that's up. They don't think I wasn't learning anything. My actually oldest daughter graduated from ASD. So, think, oh, 22, I think, 21, 20, I don't know, 21 or 22, something like that. 22, I think it was 22. Uh, so I already know, I just don't want you to think we're all ignoring.
oh no, that's so awesome. That's awesome. And also you got the benefit of that. You have someone you can practice with at home.
She's already out of the house, but yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's, use it, you lose it type thing. It kind of like Spanish in high school. But, so I was like, oh, probably gonna go to the ABCs first, but that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. You gotta, we just wanted to go back and relearn again, but, I just wanted to make sure you knew that we were paying attention.
Oh no, you're totally good. I know some people are a little bit, some people can be shy about putting their camera up. Some people also aren't able to. We had one person, I think for the like last few classes that we had the last group where they could not get they did not have a camera that worked at all. And there's like 1 or 2 classes where she was the only one that could come that night. So it was me signing and talking to a blank screen and Miss Katie. And so
I
I'm
mean,
totally
it's not that bad.
no, it's not. I was just, it made me laugh. So I'm always like, you guys are more than welcome. It's a comfort level for sure.
Yeah, we do have people that won't turn their camera on the whole time. That's fine. Um, my only suggestion would be to make doubly sure that you're understanding, like when something's directional, that you're understanding, because you are looking at it in reverse. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, it's luckily I know well, I wouldn't say a lot, but I would say quite a bit. And and I learn more every day because I use apps too. So but for somebody that's brand new, definitely. But I was like, yeah, she's going to ABCs. We already knew this. But I did not know the story about the J spell that.
See, always get to learn a new little thing every time. Even if I feel like we've had people who've joined our class come back again to review and just kind of get a refresher, and they join back and they're like, wait a minute, you didn't tell us that story. And so it's always like every class can be new in its own little thing sometimes. So, but yeah, oh, that's so cool.
Were you there in 22? I think it was 22 this year. No. Oh, it's 21. She graduated in 21, mine.
I was there. Problem was is I started during COVID and I'm an elementary teacher. So I never saw the high school students until like 22.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, yeah, she graduated. She started there in third grade.
Oh,
And she came home for I think it was like seventh grade and then she went back to us. But yeah, she was home a lot with COVID, obviously. But she was there and she still has a ton of friends there. And of course brings the drama with it. But it is what it is. So but yeah.
that's so awesome. Oh, I love that. I love that. I truly do.
I'm glad you said something. I hope y'all will stick around. I mean, we do start with the ABCs and numbers just to make sure everybody's on the same page. But awful lot of people do already know some or both. But I hope y'all will stick around. I'm glad you said something.
Well, and also, we typically, when Miss Kay sends an email, she will say like the theme for that class for that night too. So like if you do end up being like, well, I already know my numbers, but I think we're good. We don't need to. And then you could let her know like, hey, we're gonna miss this class, but we could come back for like, oh, we're gonna join back for food or whichever.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, awesome. All right, so before what was I gonna, there was something I was gonna say besides that. I was so excited for that. Um, ABCs. What was I gonna say? There was something I was gonna explain about that. Okay. I wanted to recommend this, especially since I know with it being dark in the weather, I want to make sure I get this out before if any weather starts getting all wonky. My best recommendation for you guys if you wanting to practice and learn your ABCs, I keep wanting to say ASL, ABCs, my best recommendation on how to practice is to finger spell all the time. Okay. One of my favorite things when I was learning ASL was that I would look at billboards, especially like if I wasn't driving, but like I was in the car with like my mom or whoever, we'd be sitting there and I would look at a billboard and try to finger spell it, spell all the information on there as fast as possible. Or I would just kind of like, I'd be sitting there, like, I mean, I even did it in the classroom, even if it's like, which I mean, I shouldn't admit that, like in high school, when I was like being in a class that I was bored in, and I was like, oh, I do not like this lesson. I do not want to listen. I would just look around the room and I'd look at the posters and I just start to finger spell the words. And that really helped a lot. And one of the things that also it helps with is fluency with your spelling. Especially when you're starting out and you're just learning, it can get a bit choppy where like for example, when I finger spell my name, like a lot of times when people are learning ASL, they'll be like Gill. It's almost like you're bouncing it like in their face. And it's nothing bad. It's just that's how we that's our process is how we're doing is we're like having to go to the next letter. But with practice, it gets to be able to be smooth, where it's like Jillian, where it's just like so I
Yeah,
recommend.
spell. So my daughter can just spell so fast. Like she can. Mine's Eric Matthew Peoples, and she can finger spell my name in less than about a second and a half of the time. I
That
don't know if she's actually spelling it or actually doing it correctly, but it's that fast. But I mean, she's been doing it since she was good, obviously. So you're right, it's probably a lot faster. But she's got a cochlear implant too, so she can talk. But it's still, I mean, it's so fast. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean, and the best thing that's become with me is that as someone who's used sign for over a decade now, I finger spell and I sign like I talk. So if you can imagine like how fast I talk, which I know you haven't gotten a full experience, you probably will at some point. But imagine that speed, but in ASL, it's the same. It is the exact same. I can finger spell fast. Sometimes I will like, cause I finger spell too fast and I'll make a mistake and I have to like catch myself. But that's always like, I'm like, that's not the worst thing in the world because I'm comfortable with it. And that's the biggest thing with ASL is being comfortable with it. So you do have that smooth motions going. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to give you guys a few like simple sentences. Just to kind of start that very basic communication. The first thing I'm going to give you the sign for is, the sentence is the sign. Oh, wow. The signs for the sentence, my name is. Okay. Now, before we start that, I do want to explain a little bit about, I know this class is very chatty right now. What I mean by that is like, there's a lot of explanations going on. And so that's kind of, you have to get the background before you can kind of go ahead with it. That's why. But so when you are signing in ASL, ASL is a whole language on its own. I know it's like that. We really kind of will look at it at first and just think, oh, it's just English with our hands. It's not. It is its own language, its own culture, everything a part of it. And so with that, the grammar structure is different. In ASL, whereas like in English, we would say my name is Jillian. In ASL, it's that is not in there. What I mean by that. So, and the reason for that is because that is embedded in the sentence itself. Okay. So there's going to be a few sentences that we do that I may be like, okay, well, you would sign this word, and that word, but we're not signing is, are, were, the, a, and. It is because those like article words are embedded in the sign itself already. Okay. So for my name is, what you're going to do is you're going to go my name, and that's it. So the first time we're going to do is the sign for my, and the sign for my is an open hand on your chest, my. And then name is 2 H's, and you're going to tap on top. It does not matter if you do your right hand on top, your left hand on top, whichever feels comfortable. Name. So my name. Okay. After that, what you do is you're going to finger spell your name. So my name, Jillian. Do not feel like you have to go the speed I did. I promise you. Like I said, it's natural for me. If I try to go slow, miss my letter. Say that again.
What if your sign name?
Oh, you took it before I could even say it. Okay, so I was like, I have to say this. The next thing I was going to say is that in ASL or in deaf culture, instead of just having to finger spell someone's name over and over and over and over again, everyone is given what's called a sign name. And that is just a specific handshake motion that relates to the specific person, which is what they were asking me. And so my sign name is going to be a G, and it goes on top of my cheeks. G. And what's really cool about this is you can only get a sign name from a deaf person. You cannot make up your own and decide your own. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way. And the reason for it is because most of the time a sign name relates to a personality trait or a characteristic of yourself. So for mine with the G on top of my cheeks is obviously the G for Jillian, but it's because you can kind of tell a little bit. My cheeks get really red a lot. I have very rosy cheeks. And so the G on top of my cheeks is to represent that's me as a person, is that my cheeks are red. So Jillian. There have been some people I know who have theirs where it's like on their heart or around their mouth or like they smile a lot. And so it can be very, very sweet. And sometimes it's just very direct, like red cheeks. Jillian has really rosy cheeks, so it's Jillian.
I can tell you, like me and my girls, and we all have one. So Kaylee, my oldest daughter, the one that graduated from ASD, is a K, and then it's kind of like her ear, and then like does curls down. Does that make sense? Yeah, like that. That's Kaylee. She's redheaded and she's got really tight curls. And
That.
then mine is Eric with an E, so it's above my, it's like you're doing uncle above with an E. Is all it is. You're just shaking an E above your, yeah, like that. There you go. And Alyssa is non-dominant hand flat, palm down. There you go. And then an A above it, shaking it. Yeah, like that. That's Alyssa. My youngest daughter is Felicity, and it's the F hand. Almost like you're going to pull it out for a cat, but it's like it shakes a little bit and kind of comes out because she's smiling. It's basically why her sister gave it to her.
Like, is it pulling or is it like a wiggle like this?
Yeah, kind of like smiling. Yeah, kind of like that. So, and then yeah, and then my girlfriend, my oldest daughter gave her Amber. She's also registered for this class, but she's here. Amber is an A. It's just an A shaking in front of you because she said that she's got an attitude.
I love it. See, oh my gosh, this is so cool. We've not really had anybody in the class that has like their own sign names and everything like that. And so like that's so cool to see because like I said, those are all like part of personality traits. Sometimes they can be very direct, like I said, and some are very like specific, like you were saying with Felicity with it being because she smiles all the time and having that F. It's really, really cool to always see those. I love asking people, I'm like, what's your sign name? Like, what's that? Like, what's it for? Like, what's the reasoning? Like I'm obsessed with asking that because I'm always just curious. I'm always like, what's your story?
Usually a deaf person or somebody in the deaf culture gives you your sign, right? So uh,
Yes, you have to have a deaf person sign it for you, and usually they wait a few days too. It is not just an instant like immediately meet the person. Hi, my name is blah blah blah. Can you give me a sign name? It's like they're gonna be like, no, I need to like learn about you as a person first, and then they kind of will think about it and then decide.
yeah, my Katie's mother, hers is Z, if her name is Sandra, and her name is Z, and it's like with kind of like coming down from her hair. She's got overturned hair too. No, Z. Yeah, there
Z.
you go.
That's what I thought. I was like, is Z or C? I was trying to figure out which one you said.
Z, and then the grandmother is Renee, sign name, but she grew up at Shriners, so she signs all that. I mean, like she's in church signing like she knows sign name.
Wow.
More than except for Kaylee, she don't know what Kaylee, but
Mhm.
she signs it.
Oh, that's just so cool. I love that. But awesome. Okay. So I was going to say, so that's like with sign names. So back to the my name is the way you would say was my name. Okay. Then, like I said, you would finger spell your name, the letters of your name. If you do end up getting a sign name, what you would do afterwards is you would do my sign, which is two pointer fingers, go in a circle, sign name, and then sign it. Then so whichever one, if you ever acquire one, which is awesome. If you ever do, please email Miss Katie. Okay. Like that's just always exciting to me. That's a big deal. Okay. Like that's just a huge, huge thing, at least for me, as always. Like when you like talk to someone enough and then you get a sign name, like that's a big deal. So okay. The next thing I was gonna do is asking if when you're asking someone what their name is. Okay. Now again, I got to explain a little bit about this one. I promise it is not this like this talking heavy. It's just tonight, like I said. When you are asking a question in ASL, the typically in English we do what is your name? In ASL, your question word, that what, is going to go at the end of your sentence. It's not going to be the first thing. And the reason for that is just that it helps with clarifying when you're talking with someone. And if you are asking them a question, but that like the WH at the end tells them exactly what kind of question you're asking. So like, for example, if you were saying like your name, which yours is, you have like the open palm and you face it towards that person. So your name. You want to pretend like whoever you're talking to, this hand goes towards them. So like if I'm talking to someone who's sitting here and I want to know their name, I'm going to go your name. Okay, this is what's called a directional sign, which means it depends on the direction of the person you're talking to. Okay, we'll see a few of those later on. So you would go your name, and then what? So what is going to be kind of like open bent hands like this, and you go, what? What? Your name, what? Another thing we got to talk about is WH question words have eyebrows, are very heavily involved, okay? And what I mean by that is if you are asking a WH question word, your eyebrows need to go down, okay? I know you're probably like, doesn't that make them think I'm looking angry? No, it's not. That is another like characteristic that helps them helps them know that you are asking them a question, okay? Your eyebrows going up is a yes or no question, which I think we will be getting into a little bit later. So we're not going to go too in depth with that. But for the what is your name, you want to go your name, what? My eyebrows go down, what? Okay. Because if you did your name, what, like that, they may understand what you're asking, but they're also probably going to think, is she being sarcastic? Is she not actually asking? Is she telling? Like it can get a little bit confusing. So if you are not a person who shows their emotions on their face, like I do, I show everything. Just kind of be a little bit aware. You don't have to be as dramatic with the eyebrows, like going fully down like this, but just a slight motion would be helpful. I do recommend when you're asking, maybe practicing in front of the mirror when you're asking questions. I know it's like that is sometimes it's kind of silly when you stare at yourself in the mirror asking questions, but it does help. It helps to see how your facial expressions are showing to others. So there's that. So we did my name is my sign name. What is your name? We're gonna do yeah, one more. Sorry, I was having to think. One more. I am learning ASL. Okay. So again, like I said, English, we're not signing. I am learning ASL. The way we're going to sign it is, well, there's two ways I'm going to show. And the reason I say this, I will get into, I promise. The first one is going to be me learn ASL. The other one is ASL me learn. The reason I say that is because this one, the me learn ASL, is a little bit more of that English structure. It does kind of tend to be a habit. Some people do end up signing a lot more in that English sense than that way. It's not the most correct way, but it is also, you would still be able to communicate. I just always like to add both of them here, mainly just so you know, if you flipped it, it's not the end of the world. Like your sentence is not going to be completely, I have no idea what she's saying. None of that. So the first one we're going to do is that more English. And so it's going to be me learn ASL. And me is just you point to yourself. So me. Learn is going to be non-dominant palm up. Dominant is going to kind of start with open hand on top like this. And you're going to pull it to your forehead. Learn. The visual of this is like, this is a textbook and you're pulling the information, putting it in your brain because you are learning the information. Learn. Okay. And then the next thing you would do is ASL. So ASL. So me learn ASL. Good. Okay. The next one I'm going to show you is it's the same signs. It's just moving them in their correct grammar. Okay. So you start with your subject, which is ASL. So ASL, me learn. Okay. Like I said, if you flip them, it's not the end of the world. Okay. So of our 4 sentences, let's go review those again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it open for if you have any questions, because I know we've talked a lot, and I want to see what questions you guys have. So first one we had was my name is, so my name, and I'm going to go da 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 to pretend like I spelled my name. Okay. Then we had my sign name, so my sign name. Okay. Then we had what is your name, which was your name, what? And then our last one, I am learning ASL. Me learn ASL. Okay. So, do you guys have any questions? Anything you are curious of? Anything you need clarified? Anything like that? If you are not able to like unmute, you are more than welcome to also put it in the chat as well.
I do have a question. So
Yes.
I'm a social worker and I work with a lot of different clients. And I currently have one that uses ASL as their primary language. And so this is why I'm here. But is there like slang in ASL that's more just like, I don't know if it's like within like where their region or where they grew up, or it's just like overall, is there just any slang?
Yes. So what's really cool with ASL, I'm gonna try not to go into my whole spiel about this. I can literally talk all night long about ASL. Okay. That's like, and you just had to pick the fun one like this. What's really cool about ASL is that, you know, a lot of times I think a lot of people think ASL is a universal language, which it's not. There is Spanish Sign Language, there is Australian Sign Language, there's all different, there's even Britain Sign Language. And so I always like to say that because signs will vary depending on the countries, but also whereas like we have in like when we talk, we have twangs, we have dialects, you know, different variations like that. ASL has its same thing, but it's through signing. And so there are going to be some signs that like will be a slang here, but then you may go to New York and you sign it and they're going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. What? And so there are a few of those. It's really cool and always fascinating to like ask people and talk to people about these different signs. Excuse me, and things like that. And it's even not only just for slang words. There are some like places that have signs for words that we may not have. And it's usually it's because of more like it's more common over there. It happens, there's more of it happens up the north or you know, down south, whichever. And so they've gotten their own sign because they're more common, where they're more used to them. So it's always interesting to like to ask people around, ask and see. And I'm trying to think of some slang, but before I get into that, I was trying to make sure they're not blending with deaf Bing signs, which I don't think I've ever talked about deaf Bing, which that's not really slang. It's just funny little tidbits that are interesting. But like slang, for example, in ASL, one is pa. It's like you have your two fingers on your chin and you go pa. And it's the translation is success, like awesome, like it worked. But it's like it doesn't technically have its own like actual English matching perfectly. So it's just like pa. Another one is kiss fist. And so what it is you're literally just kiss your fist and you put it away. The translation is basically like, it's so awesome. You love this. Like that's, it's just the best. It's just the champ. Like it's wonderful. Like, oh, that movie was just, it was amazing. And so that's always a cool one. I'm trying to think of some others. You pull me, I'm trying to think. I usually they come later in class and I'm like, what's another one I know?
Ask
Never
because,
a sign
oh,
for
sorry.
Say that again.
My daughter said there was never a sign for Walmart. So like in ASD, what they did was a W sign and then just like do it. Yeah, they either did that or they just did a W and then they just threw their hand forward, then it looked like an E. So like bent the wrist. So like W and like an M down. Like that. Yeah, like that. They said, well, you know, it was Walmart. So and then she goes, because there's not a sign for it, but that's just what we use there.
That. Oh yeah, there's so many of those. There are so many that'll be regional signs, and it's kind of funny. You don't realize they're regional until you go somewhere else and it's different. Like, for example, but this will be in our food one, but like the sign for ketchup. We here and like at my school and down really in Alabama, I see ketchup a lot of times. But I had one friend and coworker who was from Tennessee, and hers was ketchup because of like hitting the little bottle. And I will never forget, it was like our first week of school, and one of the students kept saying ketchup, ketchup, ketchup. And I watched the conversation, and she was like, do you mean like, wait, do you want fruit? You want this? And she kept asking different things. And they're like, no, you know, red, ketchup, red. And they were describing it. And she goes, ketchup? And they're like, yeah. And she's like, okay, got to change gears for a minute there. So it's always cool to see. And with those, it never really like ceases to amaze how many different signs we can have for different things like that. And it's all just regional. It all kind of can depend on it. Whichever like area you are in. And so yeah, Walmart is one of those. And we talk about this one when we talk, I think when we talk about some places. And with that, I always like to say, these are signs that we use here. If you go up north into New York and you sign Walmart and they tell you that's wrong, you cannot come at me and go, Jillian, you lied to me and said this was Walmart. No, that can be a regional one. So, and I usually try to preface before I ever sign any of it being like, yeah, Walmart is one that could depend.
To be clear, no one has ever come after Jillian over something she said in the class, but I'm gonna let that stand.
Yeah, exactly. I've never had it happen, but all it takes is one time, and then I'm never gonna forget it. So I'm always like, don't at me. So, but yeah, I was gonna see. I'm gonna start just a little bit, and then I'll stop because I know we got like 5 minutes. Death bings are things that'll happen that it's almost like, think about like when we say only in the South this happens. Death bing is one of those things. And so it's similar, but it's for deaf people. One of my favorite ones, and we do talk about this, is the accidental injuries that can happen when you are signing. There are times where you're signing and you can get close to your chin, your face, and you will accidentally scratch yourself because you're signing, or like if you have glasses and you're signing and you accidentally fling your glasses off. That's what's called a deaf bing. It's really cool. There's a video. I'm gonna see if I can find it and I'll send the link to Miss Katie of just different kinds of deaf bings. And it's always really fun to watch. I always love watching because it's like, oh yeah, especially if like when you're starting to like sign more, you can almost be like, oh my gosh, yeah, no, I can totally see that happening. Like that happens all the time, or this is that. It just gets a really good insight into like deaf culture and deaf experiences for sure. So, but yeah, okay. I know we have like 4 minutes left. What we're gonna do is we're gonna stop. I'm not gonna throw more signs. I'm not gonna throw more information at you. I feel like this is probably information overload at the moment, which is totally fine. It's the first class. So, but next week we are going to be doing our numbers and then doing parts of time. It kind of just depends. We kind of go at the pace of how everyone's taking it, so, and understanding it. So we're going to do that. If you have any questions throughout this week that you think of, you're more than welcome to email Miss Katie and she'll put it on our list so we can talk about it during our next week's class. Anything
Yeah.
like that.
And
Feel
to
free.
add to that, so Leslie, you said you're a social worker. We've had like Sunday school teachers. We had an anesthesiologist once, which was hilarious because when he was talking about introducing himself, he was like, "What's the sign for anesthesiologist?" And we were like, you got to spell that out, buddy.
And unfortunately, it's
But if you've got any, oh, and we had somebody who she worked at a bank, and one of her clients, one of the people that came in all the time, was deaf, and so she wanted to learn signs for, account and savings and things like that. So if there's a person in your life that, your grandma is deaf and you want to learn to sign knitting terms, Jillian is your girl. So, let me know. And I'll pass them on to Jillian. And if she doesn't know, she works with so many people that, surely somebody's going to know.
exactly. That's right. Before I forget, I do always like to say this, that as being a hearing person who did not grow up with ASL, I'm not going to know every single sign. I don't even think most deaf people are going to know every single sign there is out there, because I think about it being like with English, I don't know every English word. I know most, but I don't know every single thing. So I always like to say, if you ask me and I say I don't know, I have people I can ask and discuss with and just kind of get a visual of like how you would go about it. Because there are ways like I would explain it that may be slightly different, or maybe they do have a sign, it's just not common and I've not seen it. So I always like to say that as well. You are more than welcome to ask me though, and I will tell you, I'm very clear. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's this, and then give you a totally different sign. Like, no, I will be honest and be like, yes, no, I have not seen one, or no, that does not have one. That's where I always like to say, when in doubt, fingerspell. If you're not sure, go for it. That.
The other thing I wanted to mention is we do have some resources at the library. Um, I prefer a live person. I have a really hard time looking at images in books. But if you're the kind of person that can look at an image in a book, we have workbooks, we have dictionaries, we have vocabulary books. So we've got a lot of resources. I'll send out some information about that. And also, over the years, Julie and I have put together, like, we have some quizzes, but we also have some really brief videos about deaf culture. So every now and then, I will include one of those. And before I forget, I will also include the brief, maybe 3-minute colors video.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. That's all I got.
Alrighty.
There, if you want to learn some of this stuff, like it's all over TikTok. Okay, I'm not saying that like you need to follow all problems creators. There's one guy on there that's really good. His name is JB. And I don't remember. Yeah, it's JB something. And he actually, I think he says JB. Oh, here it is. JBMCE/ASL educator. He is an actual ASL teacher, and he's deaf. And he puts on a class every morning at 9 a.m. Central Time on TikTok.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
He teaches you a sentence, like
Mm-hmm.
what you would use. Like I think today was like sign something signs that you use on an everyday basis or something like that. So he teaches you to do it. He's funny as hell. So like you could watch it, but there's a bunch of actually on just TikTok too. So I don't know if anybody else wants to do it, but you might want to look him up. You know, he's funny.
I think I've seen a few. I haven't been on TikTok in a hot minute, but I remember when I first started, I would like see a lot of different people, and it's always really cool to watch.
Yeah, his name is JB.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you put JB ASL, he'll probably find him. He's a black guy, probably like mid 30s, late or mid 30s, maybe 40, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he's funny though. Like but he teaches you and he breaks each word down and stuff. But he does it like every day, at like 9 o'clock in the morning, something like that. So
So cool. Oh, that's awesome. Alrighty. Well, since we're a little over, we will let y'all go. What we'll do is next Tuesday when we have class, we will get started on our numbers. I always like to drop this little thing right before we go. We're gonna learn how you can sign all the way up to 999 on one hand. Just think about that. Just that's something to think about for the next week. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of y'all's week, and I will see you guys all next Tuesday. Bye, guys.
Buddy.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.